Do you want an amazing marriage? Are you ready to take your marriage to the next level? Then stick around for Your Marriage Matters podcast with marriage coach Lynn. Let's put some fun and sizzle into your relationship.
Hi friends, did you know that couples get stuck in a cycle of conflict and miscommunication based in large part because they don't understand each other? They are not only misunderstood by their partner, but they misunderstand their partner. In our quest to get our point across to each other, we miss the obvious, and that is, does our spouse get us? Does he or she know what's going on with us? Meanwhile, are we listening for understanding? Do we get our spouse? You'd be surprised at how much of our relationship woes are due to assumptions and misunderstandings. We are not mind readers, and it would behoove us all to get a handle on our beloved's inner world. Many of us think we have a grip, but do we really? On today's show, we'll be talking about love maps, what it means, why it's important, and how you can create an accurate love map. But first, let me ask you, did you do last week's suggestion? Do you remember the question I asked? What's one thing you can do right now to bring more happiness into your relationship? Leave some comments and tell me how it went. Let's form a community and share ideas. You can join the Facebook page, Your Marriage Matters Podcast, and leave comments. Or you can leave comments here. You can also leave comments on my YouTube channel, Marriage Coach Lynn. Every Monday, I will be posting a short video called Motivational Mondays on my YouTube channel. You can find the corresponding exercise on YouTube that I share on this podcast episode on the same day. If you listen to the podcast and forget the question, you can go ahead and watch the video later for a reminder or a shortcut to that week's question. You might want to subscribe to both the podcast and my YouTube channel, Marriage Coach Lynn, and click on the bell in the upper right when you subscribe to the Marriage Coach Lynn YouTube channel. That will deliver the video immediately to you as soon as it is posted. Before we get started on today's topic, did you listen to the welcome Let's Build an Amazing Marriage, Episode 1? I shared 4 secrets on how to build an amazing marriage. Let's go over them again. Number 1, self-awareness. You must seek the truth about yourself and not be afraid to be vulnerable. Number 2, you are responsible for a big part of your marital happiness, so stop staring at your spouse for answers or blame. Number 3, teamwork. Always keep in mind that the husband and wife dynamic is like a team working for the greater good and end goal of a fully functioning family unit. Say that 10 times fast. Fully functioning family unit, fully functioning family unit, fully functioning family unit. Number 4, stick with Your Marriage Matters and you won't become a statistic. It is my hope that you become a pillar of your community with an amazing marriage. Very few marriage counselors and coaches make guarantees and promises, but I do. Let's get to today's topic, which is love maps. Most of us want to be loved. We want to be understood. How can we be understood if our partner does not know what we experience throughout the day? I'm not talking about getting home from work and talking about all of the little details of what went on during the day, where you ate lunch, small conversations that went on. I'm talking about the important things. What struggles came up during the day? Maybe you were shamed or humiliated in a meeting. Maybe there is a conflict brewing with the boss, or worse, maybe there is ongoing conflict and difficulty with your boss. What if you don't like the people you work with? If you're an at-home mom, maybe you feel a little depressed and secretly wasting, quote unquote, several hours during the day with 2 young children when you know you have a lot more to offer than your station in life. But this is all temporary. I hope that you and your spouse will come to see the value in how you both spend your days, no matter what you're doing. You can do this by knowing each other's love maps. So don't be afraid to admit your feelings. Don't put them on the back burner. They do matter. They are there, And it could be helpful if you shared your struggles with your partner. Don't be a hero and carry your own burden. We are each other's helpmates. We are on the same team. You know, I keep stressing that. If you don't feel like you're on the same team, I want to encourage you to start thinking that you are on the same team and acting like you are on the same team. If you're listening to this podcast and think your spouse could benefit from hearing the messages on Your Marriage Matters, please introduce this podcast to him or her. Let's not only save a marriage here, but let's work on having our marriage thrive. It's really not as hard and mysterious as you might think for things to turn around. Do you believe that? For the love map, what you would do is you share with your spouse the discomforts of your work life or daily life in order to draw closer together. You want to gain compassion and gain understanding. When we understand our partner, we can come out of our selfishness. That is so important in marriage, to come out of our selfishness. Did you ever notice that when one partner is down, the other is up? Knowing one's inner psychological mindset gives the other spouse an opportunity to lend a hand when needed. So see how you can come out of your selfishness with this care and compassion and understanding. For the next several weeks, we will be talking about the sound relationship theory. You can visit my website, marriagecoachlynn.com, for a diagram which appears in the resources section. You can visit my YouTube channel for a discussion of the Sound Relationship House. Take a look at the playlist titled Sound Relationship House, or you can visit the Gottman Institute website for an explanation of the Sound Relationship House. Basically, it's a model that can assist you in building a solid, joyful marriage. Let's focus on this idea of love maps. What is a love map and why is it important? It's on the bottom of the house. It's at the floor level, at the foundation. Why is that? When we look at the model, you'll see that trust and commitment are the pillars of this sound relationship house, and building love maps, or knowing one another's world, is at the foundation. Again, a love map is a roadmap of one's inner psychological world. I believe a map maker is called a cartographer, and a cartographer is a person who takes a picture of an entire visual of a location. So when you go to put your GPS on, you're going from point A to point B, you have like a roadmap to get to your destination. So if you want a good, strong marriage, having a love map, think of that as getting you to the destination of greater intimacy and greater connection with your spouse. In finding out more about your partner's inner world, the main way is going to be through discussion, verbally, with words that are clear. It means you will create an environment conducive for discussing at a time when you both are apt to be reciprocal, engaged, open, and attentive. In other words, your conversation and understanding will go a long way when you are not angry, hurried, or distracted. So it's very important to create the climate for conversation. You could even gain some information on a 5-minute midday phone call or text. When you take time to chat with each other, it's important to ask open-ended questions and not make assumptions. You've heard me talk about this a lot, making assumptions, guessing at what's going on with your partner. We must avoid that if we are to find out what indeed is going on inside our partner. What he or she is thinking, feeling, struggling with, happy about, yes, what's going well. A love map is not only about getting the negative things, what's going on with your partner. It's everything. It's the complete outlook. In a book I often recommend to others, there's a list of questions you can ask your partner in order to understand him or her better and to enhance your love maps. Regardless of how long you've been married, I recommend that you periodically ensure you are in touch with what goes on with your spouse during the day. Some of you who have been married for many years might think you're all set and that you know what's going on with your spouse, what he or she faces during the day, but you don't. And our marriage is in a flux. We're constantly going through, well, maybe not constantly, but every several years, we have the newlywed years, romantic years, the settling in years, the middle age years, the older age years, maybe retirement type age. So we're always changing. You don't really know what's going on with your partner. Each day is not necessarily the same. We encounter situations, people, events. Our feelings change. What we struggle with one month might be something completely different at another point in time. Also, I know some of you might have a lot of distance in your marriages, and you might not know where to start with this love map exercise. I thank you for listening to this podcast if you've made it this far. So, for those with the difficult, tough situations where your communication might not be that high or that preferable for you, what I can recommend for now is that you try to create an environment of safety and trust where you can have some open communication. And I really think that so much in our marriage starts with safety and trust and having that initial comfort zone so that you can be vulnerable, you can feel safe. You won't want to feel criticized by your partner or ridiculed or eye-rolling. You want to be loved, you want to feel safe. So take baby steps, small breakthroughs. It will take courage. It definitely will take courage for some of you. We will touch upon some strategies for improving communication when there's a lot of distance or uncomfortable patterns that have taken root over the years in marriages at a future date in a series on communication in this podcast. The book I want to recommend is by Dr. John Gottman, Gottman, and Nan Silver. The title is The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. I think I'm going to do a book review on my YouTube channel in the next month or so stay tuned for that. Chapter 3 talks about love maps. Take a look if you are interested for ideas on how to enhance your love map. So everything I'm talking about today, Chapter 3 will enhance what I'm presenting here. So basically, again, what you do, you ask your partner what the toughest part of his or her day was today and ask what he or she was feeling. That's just one example you could do. Let your spouse do most of the talking. This is one way to find out what's going on. Well, what if you have a workload that's unreasonable and unfair? What if your 3 little kids terrorized the house and left you with very little time to make dinner or even go to the bathroom? What if you had a very difficult phone conversation with a good friend and realized that you were drifting from this long-term friend? This would distract you and sadden you. And if your spouse doesn't know what's going on in your inner world, he or she might come home from work, misconstrue your aloofness for aloofness about the marriage relationship. So you see how a lot of misinterpretations can take place when we don't have a really solid developed love map. What if you were accused of something on the job that is not part of your job responsibility? Does your partner know the hardships you face on a daily basis? Does your partner care? Does your partner notice? One important piece of info is that you must be honest. It is unfair to your partner to present an image of yourself that is knowingly untrue. So let me give you an example. What if you stole something from the workplace? You got caught and you told your wife they were accusing you and you told her that you didn't do it. You would be giving her false information and getting her on your side, and this is fraudulent. Saving your ego for the outside of the house is not going to help your relationship inside the house. If she finds out later, 2 things can happen, and both things aren't good. If she finds out, 1, you have just crushed a little piece of trust. You've lied. 2, if she never finds out, you have one little damaging incident among many more to come, I'm sure. I'm sure of it because if in your character is a little lie to save your ego, your reputation, what's going to stop you from another little lie? And all these, cumulative have effects. So basically, this is not building a sound relationship house. So I encourage everybody, get over the ego, get over the vulnerability, and really seek complete honesty with your partner. It's the truth. It really will set you free, and it really does matter when you tell the truth. You don't have to think about and keep track of the little lies. The truth is just, I really, when in doubt, tell the truth. Okay, so how about when we are grumpy, have low energy, or don't want to do a darn thing around the house? It's helpful to know what is going through one's mind. Tell your partner you're having a bad day and need to check out, that your spouse doesn't need to be concerned or to try to get you in a better mood. Maybe you want to be left alone, that it's nothing personal. And again, when we're working on this love map, the thought is occurring to me that we're not wanting to dump on our spouses, dump emotions and have them be responsible for us. In this process of sharing, we're really working towards understanding, empathy, compassion to grow a stronger love bond. So we're not really trying to dump, complain, and throw our hardships onto the lap of our spouse. Think of the love map as a sharing, a back and forth of sharing. So let me give you a couple examples or a few short stories. In my early married years, I fell into a pattern where I would give my husband what is called a honey-do list. Honey, can you do this? Honey, can you do that? What I would do is write down ideas for handyman things that I wanted done. He's better at installing ceiling fans and doing the handyman projects. I'm not really good with fixing things. I'm impatient and I just kind of don't care, but I want them done around the house. Well, it was great for many years. He obliged and got things done quickly for many years. He enjoys the projects. He enjoys learning new things and gaining new skills along the way in the various homes we've had. Well, one year, when his work life was consuming him, he had very little time for home projects. So I thought I was not in full understanding with what was going through his mind. This is why we need to periodically check in and update our love maps. So one day, it was a snowy February morning. We were living in Northern Virginia at the time, and I was in the back room early morning typing something up on the computer when all of a sudden I heard a huge whoosh. Oh no, what's going on with the roof, I thought. I went outside and looked up at the attic and noticed that the entire vent was missing off of the side of the house. And there was a gaping hole and wind was blowing snow into the attic. So I ran into the house as my husband was getting ready for work and told him of this new discovery. And he said, "Oh yeah, I know about that." "What? For how long?" "Oh, about 2 weeks." "What? This is an emergency. There's snow and wind blowing into the house. We need to take care of this." He got mad at me, felt accused and insulted. He said he was going to get around to it. What? The argument continued, and I said, "If you're too busy, I will ask the next door neighbor to come over and repair it." Again, my husband was a little mad about that, but he said, "Fine." I took care of the problem, and it was fixed that day. I later discovered that my husband felt insulted by me, injury to his manhood and ego. He has an engineering perfectionist mind, which I've always known. He needs time to analyze and figure things out in order to do something high quality and correctly. In my mind, I thought he was indecisive and slow moving. In his mind, he had to consider all the options and angles. In my mind, it was an emergency. I thought the weather elements or an animal might seek shelter in the attic. In his mind, it was not an emergency. Aha, now I was adding to my love map, my understanding of him. I need to give him plenty of time to get to home projects. So, What happens with love maps also is that over time we forget and we get focused on our perspective. So we could kind of slip out of it and get busy with what's inside of our minds, and we live our day according to what our plan is. And this is why we need to periodically check in with enhancing our love maps. So another situation I can think of is more recent, that 2 years ago we moved into a 10-year-old home, and it was in great shape, and we enjoy a newer home. And we noticed one of my kids' bedroom's door got stuck. It was a minor nuisance. The handle would just kind of squeeze tight. It would shut very tightly. So it was a minor nuisance, and not really a big deal. I thought that you could simply just kind of plane it, scrape it down so that the door will open and close easily. And I thought that my husband could easily take care of it. We had to ignore the problem because he wasn't really taking care of it, and he just wasn't getting around to it. But when you think about it, why didn't the former owners correct the problem? It's been like that for 10 years, and the house changed hands a couple of times. So why wasn't that door ever fixed? So maybe it was a bigger project than I thought. One day, after dealing with this door for 2 years, out of the blue, I'm sitting in the room next door, and I hear bang, bang, boom, boom. And within 5 minutes, maybe even 2 to 3 minutes, my husband repaired it. I complimented him, and once again we both laughed at the 5-minute projects that take a year or more for him to think about before he gets to it. He reminded me that he spends a lot of time thinking about a situation, what materials it would take, and what tools he might need. So isn't that interesting that be open and be listening to what's going on with your partner rather than jumping to a conclusion and complaining and, just thinking in your terms. When the solution is not clear to my husband, he needs time to percolate and analyze. It was not so simple where you would remove the door off of its hinges, plane down the wooden surface of the door, and then reinstall it. No, it took a different type of fix or maneuver. So anyways, if I was doing a good job with love maps, I would have learned long ago that he is analytical and methodical and will get things done on his own time. So I think I've mellowed out over the years and I just live with it and I don't complain. Sometimes you can hire it out if you really want something done and not wait. Anyways, rather than criticize and be focused on the bottom line, which I tend to do, I need to understand my husband and know what's going on in his mind and to know his love map. This week, I want to challenge you to not be preoccupied with what you want done, but to slow down and to find out what is going on in your partner's daily life. What are some of the good things he or she is experiencing? What are they planning or looking forward to? What are they facing that is causing them concern? A main way to do this is to ask open-ended questions and take time to take turns talking and listening to each other. For the woman who is a stay-at-home mom, when the husband walks in and sees a mess, does he see the things you didn't do? Does he know what you did do that day? Sometimes we let our expectations and assumptions of what should be get in the way of understanding. Take time and pay attention to the love map, which gives you a clearer understanding of your spouse. Now, this podcast is probably close to 20 minutes, so I've gone over time a little bit. I might have belabored the point, but this is the foundation of the sound relationship house, and I really wanted to make it clear and give you a few examples. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this week you can find time to enhance your love map with your partner. If you liked today's show, please leave a rating and review. Next time, we will be talking about nurturing your fondness and admiration for your partner. Have a great week and make your marriage great.